Hi, my name is Rachel. Welcome to my channel. I have just started this channel because I'm actually going to be having weight loss surgery in a week. And the surgery that I'm having is called sleeve gastrectomy, which is a really fancy name. A lot of people just call it sleeve surgery. I wanted to start this channel for a couple of reasons, but the first one is that when I was doing research about my surgery, I was having a hard time finding honest, I don't know, I'm like an obsessive researcher, so I had a hard time finding like really specific answers from people about the process that they had to go through in order to get the surgery, like getting it approved through their insurance, like step by step what it actually entailed. So I thought maybe, even though I know my process is going to be not the same as someone else's, maybe having my example is comforting to someone else to know an example of what it might look like to go through the process. In addition to talking about my weight loss journey, or whatever you want to call it, I do want to make this channel about more than that, because I feel like as someone who's been heavy pretty much my entire adult life, I have avoided doing a lot of things and kind of living my life. That was why I named this channel Rachel Does the Damn Thing, because I kind of wanted to just like do all the things I've avoided doing, or you know, the ones that are within my power to do. A lot of art and music. I want to learn to roller skate, whatever else I can think of that might be fun to do, in addition to keeping track of my progress with my weight loss and fitness, because it really does go hand in hand. A little bit about me. I am 44 years old, but I have been overweight pretty much my entire adult life. I have gotten heavier the last few years, and a lot of that has been due to medications that I'm on. The biggest factor, I think, in my weight gain has been depression, for sure, which I have suffered with since I was a teenager. But I also had babies. I had one at 20, one at 22, and one at 29. That makes it harder to lose weight after you've gone through that hormonal change. Had a couple times where I successfully lost weight briefly, mostly through disordered eating, restrictive calorie intake, and extreme exercise. It was pretty disordered and it didn't last long. According to studies, weight loss surgery is actually the only successful, long-term, achievable way for people to lose weight in the long term. There's diet and exercise just don't stick. It's not just a matter of willpower, it's just not. The reason that I did decide to go ahead with surgery now, like I said, I have put on more weight the last few years, but I also do have a spouse who depends on me for their care. So I've noticed as I've gained that extra, 20 pounds the last few years, it has gotten harder for me to do things physically, and the more limited I am, the more limited I am in caring for my spouse. And if I were to become unable to do that physical care for them, they would end up in a nursing home. And so this is just as much for my spouse as it is for myself. And I think that both of those are valid reasons. Like I said, I was going to share the process that I've gone through in order to get on the docket for getting my surgery. Beginning to end, from my first appointment with the surgeon to my surgery date, which is next week, is going to be just under 7 months in total. And I have expedited every step of this process as much as I can. So I don't know how anyone possibly gets it in less time than that if insurance is paying for it. So the process was initial visit, consultation with the surgeon, and then there were 3 separate monthly visits with the nurse, and those are to check in on my weight. They call them weight loss visits, but in my case with my doctor, I don't know about other people's doctors, but they don't require you to lose weight. In the interim, I think it probably also depends on your starting weight and stuff. Although I was not required to lose weight, I could not gain weight. So if I had gained any weight from my initial visit, my insurance would not pay for my surgery. So I had to make sure that my weight stayed at or below my first surgeon's appointment weight. And then I had to see a pulmonologist. I had to have a sleep study done, at which point I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. And so then I had to have a CPAP ordered, and I had to have proof to the doctor that I was successful using the CPAP for a month straight. So I have to bring the CPAP to the hospital with me. And the reason that they do this is because it's just a lot safer for me and anyone else that has constrictive sleep apnea after surgery to use the CPAP. And it is actually like a big contributing factor in avoiding people's death after surgery. So I'm like all for it. After all those appointments, I also had to have a psych appointment where we went over, making sure that I had realistic expectations of what would be happening after the surgery. And she actually herself had the surgery about 15 years ago, so she was able to give me some insight, which was nice. And then I had my final pre-op appointment with the doctor last week, and there were also a required 3 online classes that I had to take that were kind of nutrition classes with the nurses and the dietitians. So it was a very intense set of appointments, and it kind of became like my full-time job for the last 6 months. About the surgery itself, it is done laparoscopically, which is great because that is a much quicker and easier healing in most cases. And so the doctor goes in and removes the pouch portion of my stomach and leaves my stomach kind of shaped more like a tube or a banana, kind of is what it looks like to me in the diagrams. This kind of accomplishes the goal of weight loss in conjunction with changing my diet and physical activity levels, because it limits, of course, how much I can eat at a given time by a lot. And also it removes the part of my stomach that produces the hormone that makes you feel hungry. I think that's another big component that's going to be really helpful in my long-term success with this surgery. So I think that's about all I had to share with this video. I don't know if anyone's going to watch this. I feel like I'm mostly chronicling this to go back and watch it later and see my progress, but if people watch it, that's great. Feel free to ask me questions about, anything I've shared or whatever. I think my next video is probably going to be like how I'm feeling right before I get the surgery, or maybe right after I get the surgery. I know I'm going to be staying with my parents for a few days after I get the surgery, so I might have feelings about that. I don't know. We'll see. Till next time, thanks for watching.